Okay. Call the Vermilion County Council meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. We have Mr. Costello.
Here.
Mr. Somerville.
Here.
Ms. Brown. Here. Mrs. James and present. Mrs. Furry. Here. Mr. Bose.
Here.
And Mr. Weir.
Here.
All right. Our first item this evening is the approval of minutes for the January 13th, 2025 and January 27th special meeting. We can approve them separately or together.
I found some typos.
My last name.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not critical that it be corrected for tonight. Does it have to be corrected?
We can approve it with corrections.
Yeah.
On the 27th.
Yeah, on the 20th. I didn't see anything on 13th.
Okay. What about the other ones?
Oh. Yeah, it was that one.
Because you just need commission added to next to it.
Yeah. That's on it. I'll have it. Yeah.
What page is that?
These are long.
I'm sorry, whoever had a typo.
To page 3,
Page 3, third paragraph.
third paragraph. Ron Donovan, President of Economic Development Commission. Should be at the end of that.
Just need commission added to that. Anything else? Anything on the 13th? Okay. As I said, we can do them together, separate, however you guys like or comfortable with.
Just do them together.
Okay.
Yeah, still on there. Are you good?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve minutes with corrections on the January 27th as stated.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion from Mrs. Furry, a second from Mr. Bose to approve the January 13th and the January 27th meeting minutes with corrections noted. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed state no. Minutes are approved. Okay. Next, we have our monthly treasure report. Are there any questions on that? No questions? All right, move along. The quarterly comp time report is listed on the agenda, but we do not have that this evening. So we'll move on to the additional appropriations. Well, first we have transfers. Several are reporting only. There's first one is to cover the water bill at the jail. It's a transfer only. The second is to cover the cost of 2 record service calls. The highway, it's reporting only.
What are the 2 line items District 1, District 3 refer to specifically?
Each highway district has its own set of monies within that.
That's the capital
fund,
account,
yeah.
isn't it? So that one's set up for like extra expenses that they have. Comes from a different fund, and so
But it's still
on the budget
considered like
sheet,
separate by district?
On that one it is. That's the only one that is different.
Okay. Why was it kept that way?
I don't know. Originally we had each highway separated.
Right.
And it was one of those that sometimes they used it for capital development, like if a bridge went out or something like that, it was kind of like the excess funds in case something came up that's out of the normal, and they used it for that. It could theoretically be put back in, it's just been left on there. And since they operate as one, they can pull from whichever one they need anyways.
And the amounts are equal. I just looked it up.
What?
The amounts are equal.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It was just kind of a question about why there were three, well, possibly three, at least 1 and 3. So I knew what they referenced, but I didn't know why we still had that. So. Okay.
Any other questions on that one? Okay, the next transfer is from the health fund. To cover correction and payroll for Social Security. We also had another one for perf. These are all reporting only. And Medicare to go with that one. The surveyor has a transfer for publications. And then again, there's another highway one. I don't know what those abbreviations stand for, but it's IACHES and NACHES.
Okay, so that's the Indiana Association of County Highway Engineers.
Okay.
I don't know why they're a member of that. They don't participate in it, as far as I know. They should be in it, but I go to those meetings and I don't see anybody there from many counties. But it's just like it's an association of county highway officials.
I plan on going. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine, and it's interesting. They should go.
How often do they meet?
Quarterly, and there's like one annual meeting each year in Indianapolis where county highway officials meet and discuss what's going on across the state with their own counties. Kind of an interesting thing to learn from for as far as like legal matters, laws that have changed, funding problems, things like that. So it's definitely something good to be in. I didn't know if they were planning on going or what.
Okay.
I can talk. I'll call Mike and talk to him a little bit.
Okay, that'd be great. The next transfer is for officials training. It's reporting only. One from the commissioners for dues and subscriptions. It's reporting only. Extension has one to cover the year-end expenses. 4, it's reporting only. Some of these are because of the end of last year where they were covering things, but we just came through. So, next, motor vehicle highway, payment to air gas. And that is the end of transfers. They were all reporting only. So, any questions on any of those? We will move along to the additional appropriations then. The first additional appropriation we had this evening is for the EOC. They have a grant, and the copy of the grant was attached to our packet that we did get. This amount will be returned to the general fund at the completion of the grant, and Mr. O'Hare is here if we have questions. This is for, I skipped that part, I apologize. It's to assist in updating the county's mitigation plan.
Have we had this before, Mark?
No, this is the first year we've gotten this grant. We've rewritten the mitigation plan ourselves. But what they basically paying for is research. What they do is they look at everything that's happened in Vermilion County that's been documented. They look at all the terrain, the industry and all that, and they try to look at the worst things that could possibly happen here. so that we can do a mitigation plan, which in the next 5 years, then we address those issues if we can afford to do the repairs or do things. In the past, things that we've done are some of the county roads that washed out constantly. We've got riprap. We put riprap on both sides of the road instead of just one side. We put generators on the firehouses because the county's emergency management plan was written for VX nerve agent and did not address any bad weather or anything like that. So VX doesn't affect the power grid. So none of the shelters in the county had backup power. We found that out the first ice storm in like 2010 or so. This is first year we've actually gotten it. This, if you read the grant, it's been out since 2022, I believe, this particular one. And it was signed in January for us.
So it's coming out of the 1,000 fund?
It's coming wherever you want it to come from.
So basically, we paid out of general fund, and then once they spend the money, then it'll get reimbursed through the grant and come back.
Okay, we don't have to have a special grant number or anything for it?
What is that?
We don't have to have a special grant number
No,
for this fund?
no.
Okay.
It'll go into the line for,
Professional services?
yeah, professional services. The only thing we get out of that right now is cleaning services.
I didn't know if it had to have its own special fund, since it's a
I
grant.
mean, if they want to create a different line number for it, that's fine too, you know. If you read the grant, there's about a $6,700 match that we have to do, but that's match in kind. So like this meeting here, everybody who signed in on the sheet out there, we're gonna get $27 for it.
Right, so make sure you sign your name, please.
Yeah, make sure you guys, half the time the council and the commissioners don't sign
Full
it,
name.
make sure you guys sign on that sheet too.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Should
Yeah,
we
I know
probably
this
should set up?
No, I
some-
mean, I always think it's worked better when we've set up separate funds for the grants. It makes it a lot easier to track.
I was always told you can't commingle the funds.
And but that's,
But since we're paying for it first and they're just reimbursing it, does that make a difference?
no.
Yeah,
I
this
mean, it
isn't a
goes
grant.
red and then gets, but it's just a lot easier when you get it audited. When they say we need to see the things that you paid for this grant, if they all came out of one fund,
Okay,
then they're all there. So we have been setting up funds when we get for whatever kind of grant it is, I think. And I'm looking for it because you would know what it means, but, you know, we,
I've always set them up separate.
so could this be 30571?
No, I'm talking about the 1,000 fund, general fund. It would have to be like an 8,000 number.
Okay, figure out a number, put it wherever you want. I mean,
Yeah.
I just need to know what the line is so that we can make the payments out.
so basically, we're just approving a transfer then from the general fund to the new fund number. We advertised it out of the general. We're still good.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you- Yeah, I mean.
Where it's ending up is a different spot.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
But just, it's just experiences, I think, showing that having it as, any of the grants are, if we put them in their own fund.
That makes sense, so you can
Well, I
track
mean,
it.
we could have 10 at the same time. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh,
you-
yeah.
Yeah,
Problems,
but
so
when the auditors come in 3 years later and they're like,
you
you need
can't,
to see what you paid for out of here, then you're going back and like, well, there's 1,000 things you got paid for out of 1,000.
Okay,
Well, that was just one thing they really beat
they'll,
down on was
they'll let you know where it's
no
at, but
commingling of
Yeah,
funds.
it's just-
So if it's a
That's all I need to
grant,
know, because it's
Most
gonna take like 2 weeks
grants do
before the
that.
state approves it anyway, right? It'll be a couple of weeks. So by that time, figure out where it's going, let me know, and then I'll start
Okay.
making payments.
all right. Any other questions for Mark?
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the grant for the emergency management for the county's mitigation plan of $20,304.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Costello, a second from Mr. Weir to approve the additional appropriation of $20,304 for a grant for the county's mitigation plan. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. Additional is approved. Thanks again, Mark. Speaking of grants, our next additional appropriation, this is, I guess, a great example of it, is for Pure Court. Tia was able to get a grant, and since we advertised for our yearly budgets back in August. We did not advertise, obviously, this fund number because we did not have it at the time. So this is for her grant for Pure Court. We did discuss it with her during budget hearings.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
Is this set up properly as far as its own fund also?
Yes.
Yeah.
8136?
Yeah, that's what we were mentioned, that 8 number. That's why we didn't have it advertised, because we didn't have a fund, we didn't know she was getting the grant at the time to advertise that fund number. All right, I have a motion from Mrs. Furry, a second from Ms. Brown. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the juvenile diversion grant for the total amount of $82,253, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed state no. It is approved. The next additional is from the surveyor. Mr. Mack here. All right. His first one is for office supplies in the amount of $1,776. It says the estimated copier, lease, and printing. He didn't have enough money in the supplies, but actually on the budget sheet, we did put money in for this copier. It's just separated out of supplies. So he currently has $1,300. It's in the equipment and maintenance agreements, which is still short of what he needs. But there is some in there. It's just not in the. He was looking in the office supplies for that payment, and which.
Does he have any other possible uses for that other line item where he might have already accounted for that and something else?
For the equipment and maintenance agreements?
I don't know if he has multiple machines or something like that.
Well, we had moved it out of there because since some copiers are on like the big group plan and then other copiers are not. His is not included in that lease. And so all of the copiers that are not included in the big lease payment have their own number.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why it got separated out this year. And he may not have realized that that got separated out on there. Because equipment and maintenance agreements for any of the copiers that are not included in the group lease are in the 33500.
Okay.
So it's still short. Evidently his lease must have went up on it, his agreement. So we're still short $476, it looks like.
So the lease is 1776.
Mm-hmm.
He has 813 on hand, but I assume doesn't want to use.
I don't, that's not,
I'm gonna say, way I read this, he's budgeting for office supplies and
the copier out of
Copier.
the office supplies. Yeah, I think that might be his balance in office supplies, which he's not looking at the other line item is what's going on. So that'll still leave him the $813 in office supplies. And then if we approve $476, it actually needs to go budget line item.
33500.
Yeah. 33500.
Is that where you're paying it out of, Misty? Or do you know?
I don't know that.
Okay.
This car, I think it's already been done
Oh.
too.
Okay.
We just need to increase his line item for machine.
Mhm.
That's it. And then the
Yeah.
813.85 stays.
Yes.
Office supplies for other.
Yeah, the office supplies won't get touched.
Okay.
So you need an additional amount of $476 in budget line number 33500, which is equipment and maintenance agreements.
How much was it?
$476.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for the additional in the 33500, $476.
No second.
Okay, I have a motion from Mrs. Furry, a second from Mr. Bose, to approve an additional appropriation of $476 into line item 33500, equipment and maintenance agreements for the surveyor. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. Additional is approved. The next additional appropriation is also from the surveyor. He is asking for $600 into new line item 30270 for publications. He said he was not informed a new line item to cover the cost of legal notices was required in 2025. Must post meeting notices, drain actions, etc. by statute. I'm not sure which notices are new. That's all. Don't know, but he must have to publish something.
He
You know.
does not have this line item for 2020. And I let him know that. I think he had it for 2024, but it wasn't. So he needed to come in and ask for that as an additional. The line's already created, it's just he doesn't have it for 2025.
I don't know why it would have disappeared. Let me grab my book.
What's this other one? 126?
Oh, is it in drainage?
Might be in a different fund, a different location. Yeah, postage. No advertising.
If it wasn't in our 25 book, would you have to look in the previous?
Choose that.
I've got the budget book, but I don't see that it, like, nothing got marked out.
I wonder if it got added last year. A lot of times when you add an account in the middle of the year, it doesn't show up on
That could have
the
been.
budget module.
So you think 30270 does exist?
Yeah, it does.
Itself, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, I just can't see, like, it wasn't on our budget sheet, so it's not like we took it out purposely, if that's
Right.
the case. Like, it,
That's what I'm
unless it
saying,
was an
might be-
additional last year that got added, and then we just, he didn't add it to his,
A lot of times they don't roll
requested
over. They
budget.
don't talk to each other. The two modules.
yeah, because the budget sheets pull the previous approval of a budget amount, not any additionals that get applied to it. So if it was an additional last year, he would have had to add it to his sheet and without knowing.
But is this the right location if it's for drains?
Could be anything, I guess.
Just
Yeah, it almost
Okay.
comes out of general fund, so it's the same fund it's coming from.
knock that
Neither
up.
one had any.
Yeah, none of them have. And it's the same money pot.
It doesn't need to be that special drain number.
Doesn't need to be what?
That special drain number. Oh, I don't remember. off
So
the
like
top.
the 2000,
Pardon me?
the 2000,
Yeah, something, yeah.
I think it was 2700.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's always 600.
Okay. Well, we can figure out the account number or the, where, how to get in there, back in there.
Make a motion to approve it.
I'll second the motion for the surveyor's office request for $600 additional
Okay.
appropriation.
I have a motion from Mr. Weir, a second from Mr. Costello to approve $600 into budget line item 30270 publications for the surveyor. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. It is approved.
So just a point, as far as budgeting, do we need to make a note someplace?
Yeah,
Okay, because it may not be there again.
and maybe send a reminder out when everyone fills their budget request out that if you had a new item, make sure it gets put in, because the computer system doesn't generate it. There was an additional.
It goes off the previous
Mhm.
year's
It goes off
what
the
was
previous adopted
originally
budget.
budgeted. Yeah, we've missed some things.
The next additional appropriation is for the ambulance. Coming from public safety. The additional amount of our actual invoice that we received is $34,688.54. The commissioners had approved at their meeting to advertise for $50,000 because they did not have the actual invoice amount yet. So, but the actual amount is that $34,688.54. Julie was going to be here tonight to give us an update, but she has a sick kid, so she wasn't able to make it. She apologized.
So what's the actual number we're gonna approve?
The invoice amount is $34,688.54.
So we can just approve that amount.
Yep, that way it matches up with what the commissioners were.
And she did present that for the commissioners. so-
Yes, she did. Yep, and gave them updates too.
And that's the final for the
That was
year
final for
2024.
2024. Yep. She had a very detailed spreadsheet, and I think everyone should have a copy in case you have extra questions, but, and if not, she's willing to answer any that.
Is that the amount that we were short overall? I mean, we started the year with one company,
Yeah.
switched management.
Yeah,
and-
so we do need to ask her if we need to up the monthly payments. Obviously, the 6 months was short, so I'll give her a call and find out. I'm sure it's not. I mean, we'll get it figured out, make sure we pay our bills.
And that was for 6 months, if I recall correctly, right?
Yes, they started in July.
I'll make a motion for the additional for the county ambulance service, public safety, $34,688.54.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion from Mrs. Furry, a second from Mr. Costello, to approve an additional amount of $34,688.54 for the ambulance service in public safety. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
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 All those opposed, state no. Additional is approved.
I'm pleased so far with everything I've seen.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things.
I think
Well, the accountability part of it, I mean, as far as finances, is very good. You can see what's going on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Very detailed. She's been
very
great to work
detailed.
with. Park County's been great. All right, we have another additional tonight. Actually, we have a few. These are all the next 4, 5. The next 5 are all together, kind of. This is for the health department. These are their funds that do not operate on a yearly basis. They operate from July 1st to June 30th. They are the remaining amounts they had left in 2024 that need reappropriated for 2025. We have the first one. It is for the FIFER grant, the Emergency Preparedness Grant, in the amount of $25,343.08. Health Fund 1159 is a total of $179,771.22. The School Liaison Grant for a total of $50,873.03. The Local Health Maintenance Fund, $16,429. And the Local Health Department Trust Account Fund in the amount of $23,599.71. So, we basically already approved these once in July, August, and then this is just the second half of them, since they split the year. Yeah, did I skip that one?
I think you said it. I
The
circled
local
it.
health maintenance, $16,400.29.
Yeah, those two.
The Thrive Fund, yeah. Okay. Oh, I see. Yes, in the explanation, it does, here it does say the Thrive funding. That's for the rides that people need to medical appointments and things. And Thrive funding is also in the local health department, the trust account fund, in the amount of $23,599.71.
So you said this was done at budget time, it was up.
Yes, the
Budget hearings.
grant, the grants, now the local health maintenance funds, I guess, I see what she's,
Yeah, the first
the Thrive funding is from their amounts that they have left. We didn't advertise those at the time, at budget hearing, so we didn't know that it was going to.
Right, it's money that we've received from the state, that they're no longer paying into those two funds any longer. So they want us to use those funds up. So we can get approval for that from the state. They have to approve the whole spending out of that as well. So that was sent to them.
That it wasn't already approved? Okay.
You wanna do them separate or all together?
I have no problem doing it together.
Okay. Good with that?
I'll make a motion for the health department, the Pfeiffer grant, the health fund, school liaison grant, the local health maintenance fund, and the local health department trust account fund as given.
How many total is that?
5. Oh, 5.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. I have a motion for Mrs. Furry, a second for Mr. Bose, to approve the 5 additional appropriations for the health department, including the Pfeiffer grant in the amount of $25,343.08, the health fund 1159 in the amount of $179,771.22, the school liaison grant in the total amount of $50,873.03, the local health maintenance fund in the amount of $16,400.29, and the local health department trust account fund in the total amount of $23,599.71. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. All right, appropriations are approved. Okay. The next 2 additional appropriations are from the highway department. The first one is in the amount of $2,126.35 in the MVH unrestricted, going into budget line item 33508 for liability and casualty. This is to cover the rest of the cost of the highways portion of the insurance last year, and it had gone up
True.
Yes.
quite a bit. And the second one is also from 1176 MVH unrestricted. It is in the amount of $3,886.80 for budget line item 125000 for workman's comp, to cover the cost of the workman's comp.
Really big increases.
That is a
I
really,
understand. 10,000 to 38,886. Over 300% increase.
yeah.
And they haven't changed massively numbers of employees or anything. I mean, you can have a few claims with them.
Well, liability and casualty went up 22,000.
I think it'd be appropriate to at least ask some questions on why it's going up. Just for planning purposes,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we probably should have
budgeting
him.
purposes for next year.
He did come and explain it to the commissioners. I don't
Okay.
What do you
recollect
say, they want more money?
what he was, yeah. I don't recollect what was said, but I do remember him coming and
It's a pretty good hit.
explaining, so we could ask
Don't change
George to
anything,
come, put him on our next meeting
Yeah.
agenda.
That would be good. That way we can hear it.
Okay, we'll see if he can make it.
I would have to pay it, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we really need to understand, why things are going up. I mean, there might be something small we can do to help offset some of that. Maybe not.
Find a new provider.
Okay. We can approve them together or separate.
They just do them together.
Yeah, they're the same fund.
What's the amount, the 388680?
The workman comp?
Yeah, that?
budget, I know I looked, there was 35,000 budgeted, so that
Oh.
3,000 is the difference between what was budgeted and what the bill was.
So the bill's 38,886.80,
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and we're short 38,86.80.
Yeah, 35
There's
was in the
no
budget, and we had
coincidence.
65 for liability insurance, and it was higher than that.
Just the numbers look like there was some kind of a typo.
I know, it
or
looks like it's an
something.
odd number,
Yeah.
but it's,
Where
that'll
how
get us
these numbers
exactly what-
lining up to this cent off by a factor of 10 or something.
There then.
I think we're getting ripped off. That's what I think.
Might be.
They can find it cheaper, you can probably.
We had
Stop
claim,
it out. I don't know, they could, you can cancel it if you get somebody cheaper.
By not approving this, can we?
No,
No,
I think
we'll
you still have
do
to
this.
approve it, but I'm saying if the premium's paid, and then you decide if they find somebody who can do it cheaper, you might be able to. Which is, yeah.
what company is this with?
I don't know.
This is for the whole year though, right, Steve?
Pardon me?
This is for the whole year of 25.
Oh, George Smith.
it's George Smith.
He's the agent,
Travelers,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's
some
the agent.
travelers, or
I don't remember.
I don't know who does the work comp.
I don't remember.
That's the only thing I can think of.
What's that, I'm sorry? Yeah, RT insurance, yeah.
No, I'm guessing we didn't budget enough this year then.
Need a liability insurance.
No, we didn't.
Geico or something.
I don't know about work comp.
That's what this is. This is this year's.
Gotta have
That's
work
this
comp.
year's?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is to cover this year's. It does read funny. This is this year's.
Okay,
Last year, she stated on here last year how much we paid.
I gotcha.
And to this year, that's,
so
You
we
might
did,
have had a
we did
sense
up
that
the
you
budget,
don't
just
have
not
to
enough.
be
did.
Budgeted
I did.
a lot more.
I raised it.
But you missed it by,
I guessed close.
well, we'll make it high, and it won't be that much.
Okay, so that's to pay it for the whole year.
Yeah, that's this year.
Gotcha.
Can't win.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve both of these additional appropriations from the 1176 unrestricted, one for liability casualty at 2126.35 cents, and workman's comp at $3,886.80.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion from Mrs. Furry, a second from Mr. Weir to approve the two additional appropriations, one for liability and casualty in the amount of $2,126.35, and the second for the workman's comp, $3,886.80 from the MVH unrestricted highway department fund. Any further discussion?
I
Can
would
we
just
get
like
a
to,
written, go ahead, Rick.
I would just like to, doesn't have to be next month, but I'd like to have him in before we.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'd like
Thank
to
you.
have something in writing too, so an email or something that explains the both.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, all those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. Both additionals are approved. And our last additional tonight is the solid waste fund. There was $25,000 appropriated in the Commissioner's 2025 budget. They would like to be able to spend those and like to move them into their solid waste fund. So they are being moved from Commissioner's Court budget directly into the solid waste account.
And we do this every year, so I'll make a motion.
And being I'm on the solid waste board, I'll make a second.
All right. I have a motion for Mrs. Furry, a second for Mr. Weir, to approve the $25,000 to the solid waste account from the Commissioner's Court budget. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. It is approved. was a busy February. We do not have any old business this evening, but we have 2 items for new business. The first item on new business is the Parks Department. Good evening.
Ashley,
Hello.
council members, Wayne Bush, president of the park board, and all the park board members. So if you have any questions for any of us, please feel free.
All right.
What I would like to do, what I'm going to do is just a brief overview. I hope you have all been in some of the county parks. We have taken great pride the last few years in improving from walking trails to new bathrooms that have water, running water and flushing toilets. When I come on here about 12 years ago, there wasn't a flushing toilet in a park. If you went to a park, you used a pit toilet and washed your hands in a hydrant. And that was one of the things, I kind of am proud that that was my pet peeve. You go have a family reunion and you gotta do this, come on, you know? So we've got that done. That brings me to why I'm here. All of this stuff has been done by our county employees that work for us. They've not only poured concrete, they have built buildings, they have done all the electrical work, they have done all the plumbing. So I keep hearing from a lot of people that all they do is mow. No, that's the last thing they do. Everything else gets done first. So we've got an issue with our employees and their wages, is what it amounts to. Every time we try to talk about this, it comes up to us that they're temporary workers. They're full-time workers. We're just not open full-time. We close in November, open in April. So they draw unemployment. But when they're here, they work full-time and they do an outstanding job. That's what I wanted to tell you, just as a little overview. I'm going to turn this over to Becky and Shelley, if Shelley wants to come up, because they've got all the numbers. They can tell you what we're looking at and what we would like to propose, and see if you guys will give us any work. We're not asking for extra money right now. We just want to change some stuff around a little bit. So I'm going to turn it over to these guys.
All right. Thank you, Becky Holbert with the Park Board, switching hats on y'all. So we were wondering if would it be possible for our 3 employees, not the supervisor position, but the 3 employees, to put that money into a lump sum and let the board determine an hourly rate. I know the salary ordinance for 2025 has already been approved. I didn't know if there was any opportunity for this to be readdressed. I know probably not voted on at this meeting, but perhaps the March meeting when we have time to, as a board, to go through everything. We met earlier tonight, but didn't have a lot of, we wanted to bring it to you guys first before we get a lot of details put down in writing.
So how would you determine, what method would you determine as far as what an employee would receive? Is it by their skill level?
Right, so right now, the county highway, and I don't have a copy of the salary ordinance in front of me, but the drivers with county highway make $21.33, I think. And our guys for 2025 will make $17.31. And they're doing a lot of, I would say, equal time and equal amount, but are they less skilled than county highway? You see what we're saying?
Well, I'm coming back to Wayne's idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is one an electrician, is another one
Yes, one is an electrician.
Okay, so so one's an electrician, one might be a plumber, one might be a...
Correct. Yes, we have these different skill
Concrete,
sets.
whatever.
Yes, we have different skill
If
sets.
we can add, our
Yes.
goal would be, I'm Shelley Smith, our goal would be if we could bump the workers up to $20 an hour. But we understand that that's quite a difference from $17.31, which they'll currently make per hour this year, to jump them up to 20. And we're willing to negotiate if we could even bump them up maybe to $18.50. But if not, this would be an alternative where we could kind of just put it is all in one line item.
Right.
But we could just have a little more control over, you know, maybe this one wants to work the full 17 weeks, maybe this one wants to
Or
work.
17 pay periods.
Right, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
17 pay periods. But, I mean, our goal would be if we could bump them up to get them a little more equal with the county highways.
So are you gonna ask for a certification, like, I mean, are they all gonna make $20, or your electrician gonna make more than somebody that's laying the concrete, or?
Well, currently, they all make just the same amount of money.
Right.
We're just
And that's-
lucky
that's
to
the-
have an employee that is an electrician or
So
former
are
electrician.
you asking for like basically the salary resolution to state like up to $20 an hour then? Is that like, so you could pay, like if you have someone that's just qualified to mow, are you gonna pay them the same rate as you would pay somebody like the electrician?
Well, and again, to the pay periods, 17 pay periods, that's 34 weeks. If we could take that to even 32 or 30 weeks, that's still 7.5 months. but
Right.
That would up the hourly rate. Does that make
I
sense?
guess
And
what I'm
perhaps we
asking
could
is, do you wanna pay
stagger
all
when they
three the
start
same
and when they
amount?
end. So we're trying to be creative here within what's been budgeted.
Currently, they do make the same hourly rate.
Yes.
In a perfect world, we'd like them to make what the highway makes. But we're willing to negotiate maybe, or maybe if we could pay them all $18.50 an hour across the board. But if not, we're hoping that we can kind of adjust their work schedules, their time periods to reflect maybe
Right.
just a little bit more of an increase.
So I guess as far as on our end, like the salary, I can't talk tonight. Salary resolution states usually just a set wage, or you're not asking for necessarily flexibility to give a range of wage, but to keep one rate then?
Like all your
Can I
guys would make the
interject
same
real quick?
hourly rate.
If I may,
Yes.
real quick.
Please, Wayne.
I think I've confused you a little bit by saying electrician, plumber. Okay, all three of the guys work together and, okay, I don't know if you know Jeff. Jeff is the best electrician. He is an electrician, okay? One of the others is a carpenter. John works on a lot of the plumbing and sets the bathrooms up, because the bathrooms all have to have pressure systems to flush the toilets we have in them. But they all do each other, you know, it's not, oh, okay, I'm the electrician, I'm the only one that can do this. It's not that way. They all work together. So we would basically like to keep them together the same. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's what we're doing. And I know I wasn't able to attend the other day when these guys had a meeting, but again, like I said, we wasn't asking for money, but if we could have, we have 3 employees, and each one of the employees is budgeted to make so much per year. So we have one of the employees that didn't want to work the whole year, so there was money left in his line item. But we can't let the other employees work and make that money because it was budgeted for that employee. So that's what we're trying to figure out, if we could put it all in one line item, where if one guy is gonna work for some reason medically or whatever, has to quit, say at 14 weeks, and the other guy's gonna stay till 19 weeks, that he can use the rest of some of his money to pay him with.
His life throws curveballs.
So
We all know that.
it's that's what we're trying to do, is just make it, the money's budgeted
So
there.
who's gonna track that
Who's gonna track what?
and make sure that you, like, if you've got your 3 guys and they work the whole entire time at $20 an hour, you obviously don't have that much money in the budget.
Right, and that's what we will be checking with the auditors, with payroll lady, to see where we're at. Just like, you know, when we talk to Leanne about how much money we have left every time, same difference.
Okay.
So we just know, you know, this is what we got. But,
How does that increase the hourly wage, huh? If we do what you asked us to do, which sounds fine to me.
Because sometimes, like, I think, you had 14 hours or 14 weeks for one employee when I looked at it, and 15 for weeks for one, and then
Or
17
pay
for the
periods,
other.
not weeks.
Pay
Pay
periods.
periods.
Pay period, sorry.
Yes.
And so basically, they still had money sitting left there that they could have paid them a better wage, is what you're
Okay.
saying, right?
Or they could
Correct.
have worked longer.
Right,
So-
right, yeah, right. Because if they take time off to go on a vacation in the summer
They
with
don't
the
get
family, they don't get paid for that.
Right.
It's a no pay.
There is no perf paid on seasonal. They are eligible for health insurance if they work 40 hours, for what, 6 months at least? Is it
I
more
think
than, if they
two
work
of
more than
them-
6?
I remember 2 of them took the help.
For the year?
They get, yeah, so they do get health coverage while they're working, I assume, and then they get COBRA, I guess, offered to them, when they're not working. But they don't, So to qualify for health insurance, you have to work at least 30 hours a week on average. They, rules are for seasonal employees, they have to work 6 months or less, so for you to be exempt from that requirement. In other words, if you, and these guys are working 8 months or whatever it is, so they qualify for health insurance, but they don't qualify for any other, I don't believe any other county, they don't get paid days off or sick time either. So, because they don't, our handbook defines full-time as 40 hours continuously. So they don't qualify for any other benefits other than the health insurance.
But they have that year round.
No, they don't.
Just
get it
while
when
they're
not
working?
They don't get it when they're not working. They can continue it. And I
At
don't know-
their expense.
At their
The
expense.
cover's really expensive.
Oh, yeah, that's-
So they just get the health insurance when they're working for the county in the off-season. It sounds like they file for unemployment claim, so they're getting an unemployment check, and they could use that to keep up their health insurance if they wanted to. I don't know if it's enough, but.
How much of an additional cost would that be, to just give them insurance for the whole year? Rather than,
I don't know.
I mean-
I don't know what it costs. Probably, it depends on who it is and whether their whole family's on there, if it's one visible. So you would have to put a range in there of what they're being paid. You could do amendment to the salary ordinance, put a range in. I think that's the way you have to do it, to give them the flexibility to increase people's wages at some point, but then it would need to be monitored, and there need to be some record. The auditors are gonna wanna see if you decide that John
Yes.
Smith's going up to $21 an hour.
Right.
There need to be some
Right,
documentation.
there's gotta be a lot more accountability, and we understand that from our perspective as a board.
So would they all make the same, or they would vary
I
in
think
wage?
basically they would all make the same. Because like I say, they're all skilled employees, you know, they all do, like, just like we said, hey, you know, we wanna build these bathrooms. And they all, you know, every one of them pitched in, some of them, like they say, Jeff did the electrical part because that's what he knows how to do. And somebody else did the plumbing, but they all have skills, they're not just, you know, and when we hired them, you know, we asked them, you know, and one of, you know, Josh said, I've been a carpenter forever, I can build stuff, and he's put the trusses up, built the roofs, you know, did everything like that. And it's, I get off on this because I'm probably going where I shouldn't go, but just like, we put in exercise equipment in Perrysville around the walking trail. There's 5 exercise stations that you can take a walk around and stop and do these exercises. Very nice. Had them shipped in, they dropped them there. Our guys went up there, you know, installed them. You know, we didn't have to hire nobody, just like all these bathrooms we've built. We've built 7 of the 8 parks have flushing bathrooms in them now. No, 6. Trailhead has a new pit toilet. We had to put that there because we have no water or electricity there. Ernie Powell will have a new one. It's a remodel job that will get done this year, and then that will be all the parks with new bathrooms.
That's Ernie Powell Rest Park.
Ernie Powell
not
Rest
the
Park,
museum.
yes. But what I'm getting at is, these guys they can do all this. They're not just lawnmower operators. So,
if you're gonna pay them more with the same budget, they'll have to work less hours, right? I mean,
maybe
We have to adjust the
year
pay
long,
periods.
yes.
That's where some of them weren't working the whole time.
The money
anyways.
that's there now is figured on 17 pay periods.
Is it all the same guys coming back?
Yes, right, as of right now, they all said they would. And don't take this the wrong way when I say this, they all said they would depending on the pay, because they're all pretty upset about it being, last year was 16 something.
Yeah,
And they're like, you know, we're doing all this stuff.
It's
that-
what, I'm sorry?
it was 16,
I don't know the change, it was 16 cents last year.
1676.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one drives from Perrysville to Miller. Miller Park is their base park. So they drive from Perrysville to Miller and home every day. One comes from Cayuga to Miller. That's a long drive for 1676 an hour, or 17 an hour.
Anyway, that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to help them. And they're like I said, they're all excellent employees. They work on their own. There's, you know, we're not there supervising them. We don't have to be because they do what they're supposed to do. And that's what we're trying to make it better all the way around. So I'm done. You got one?
We just,
Are you looking for an answer tonight, or just presenting?
is it a possibility to adjust the salary resolution for that? Adjust the number of pay periods and give us a little flexibility, and we would come back to the March meeting with what we would propose officially.
So you're gonna ask for more money?
No,
You're not?
Not
I just
twenty
was-
twenty-four,
not in
or
2025.
twenty-five.
No, they're just wanting to use what they have, and pay a higher rate, which equals less hours, but they weren't using the total max hours anyways.
So they didn't have enough work, you're saying, to work?
Some of it's
Full
vacation,
week.
some of it's,
Some of it's vacation, some of it's curveballs.
yeah.
We had a
You know.
medical issue with
Yeah.
one young man, he
Yeah.
had to take some time off.
Yeah.
And then,
You want them well when they're coming back, because it's a physical job.
If you can do that without costing any more money, I don't see a problem with it.
Does it affect any other, I mean, it's seasonal.
Are
And
we
it
the
doesn't
other
affect
seasonal
perf, because
department?
perf is what, 11.2%, I think. So since we're not paying that, it doesn't affect that other, any other budgeted items for those.
I'd like to just talk about it for a while. I don't know if we can talk about it tonight and solve that, but, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I think we should talk about it.
So if somebody takes a jump in pay for 2 or 3 weeks and somebody comes back, they're gonna lose that and go back to where they were?
No, we would, this would be set before the season starts. That's why we're here tonight.
So do you guys have already some other guidelines that you've put
Job
down on
descriptions?
paper? Not really job descriptions, just kind of how are you gonna administrate it? Can you put a, game plan together for us on how you would
Okay, so if we went
monitor
on
and administer-
a.
I mean, can you do it in writing so that we
I
can
can.
understand it?
Yeah, so right now, there you go, the salary, there's what's set up on 17 pay periods, they would make
Yeah.
17.31 an hour. If it was 16 pay periods, it would be 18.39, 15 would be 19.62, and 14, which we really don't want to go to 14, that's 7 months, that's 28 weeks, but we could. And just adjust when.
Just stagger 'em.
Right, stagger when they start in,
But
right,
they'd be working, I'm sorry, Becky, but they'd be working, instead of the season being 8 months, it'd be 7
Yeah.
and a half or
right,
something?
exactly. But we would stagger when they start and stop. And this does not include our supervisor, so there would always be 2 people working.
As long as
For
they get the
safety.
grass mowed, I mean, why not?
So, but it
don't
needs,
see-
it's an adjustment to the salary resolution, so it needs to be okayed by you guys, approved by you as a board, as a council.
I recommend we study it just a little bit. But I
If
think
you
it's
come
something
back to us
that's
with
worth
the-
studying.
If you'll bring us after you guys look at your weeks that you need and how much you think you can budget,
Okay,
bring us back a number that you think would work.
okay,
See.
within what's already
Mhm.
appropriated.
Right.
Okay,
At the $20 an hour?
If
Yeah.
you pick
Whatever you
20 or
want.
1850 or whatever,
Okay.
make sure you guys can cover what you need to cover before you raise it, so that way, but.
right.
If you can
But
do
if we
20,
can
that's
work it out
great.
to stagger starting and stopping,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and work within the
basically had
appropriation.
Three pay periods for the 3 employees that were basically not cut. So as a matter of fact.
Proposing to cut.
Proposing.
Perhaps.
What she said is basically, at the beginning of the year, these 2 people start and work, let's say 3 pay periods, and get everything ready to go. At the end of the year, they're done, and the other 2 work 3 pay periods.
Same money, less
It's-
hours.
It's the same money, same
Same money,
hours,
less hours.
it's
I mean,
just
Right.
moving,
and
moving
if
things
work's
around a
getting
little bit,
done-
so we can be more
Giving you some
competitive.
flexibility.
Exactly.
And more competitive with our, for our employees to, make a decent wage. They do a good
Sometimes the
job.
weather
They
just
work-
I don't see anything wrong with it.
They're outside all summer, which is great. Some people wanna be outside, but
No.
they're out in the sun, the weather, whatever it
If
takes.
they can get the work done.
They're doing a good job.
All right, so I'll bring it back to the March meeting.
Yeah, we might ask you for some more
That's fine.
details.
They're probably
That's fine. You
underpaid.
got my email.
Yeah.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Our last item of new business tonight is the salary resolution. I can't say that tonight. There was an error in the health department for the public health educator. She is actually paid out of 3 funds, and that rate was, after some new calculations, it was not figured correctly to pay her the right amount that was budgeted. The budget amounts were correct, just the hourly rate was not listed correctly. There were actually 2 other items on here. There are some exempt positions, and the matron and the EOC director were not listed correctly either. They are exempt. So those 3 things have been fixed. So we will need to vote on the amended resolution. It would be 2025-02.
Show two.
What's that? Yeah, 02.
See?
I'll make a motion to amend Sally, the resolution 2025-02.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion from Mrs. Furry, a second for Mr. Bose, to approve the amended resolution. The original resolution was 2024-12. It will now be resolution 2025-02. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. Resolution is approved. Okay. That is the end of our agenda. Is there any public comment this evening?
I'll keep it brief, I promise.
No problem.
So I'm Mandy with the Hamilton Center. I'm the program manager. And it is time for our 2024 yearly report. So I know this was sent to you guys, but I brought you copies and I thought I would just go over it very briefly if I could. So for the year 2024, which was July through June last year, Vermilion County served 542 consumers out of Vermilion County. 187 of those consumers were birth to age 17. 342 of those were ages 18 to 64. And 13 of those consumers were 65 plus. Out of those 542 consumers, 493 were 200% or below the poverty line, or 91%. Out of those consumers that we did serve, 198 adults and 6 youth received only addiction services. 207 adults and 184 youth only received mental health services, and then 147 both adults and youth received dual diagnosis, so addiction and mental health services. We served 181 inpatient days for consumers in Vermilion County, and our consumers utilized 15,326 outpatient services. So that includes individual therapy services, skills, case management, those type of outpatient.
So that's like per appointment then?
Yes.
15,000?
15,000, yep. So we paid out $818,769 in salaries and benefits. $365,447 in expenses, and the cost of our inpatient care for Vermilion County was $249,780. So our total expenses were $1,433,996. We received and paid out in charity care $36,879. and received $186,000 in the county tax support. And Hamilton Center employs 35 Vermilion County residents. So I also can include on here our 5 most common substance use for adults include stimulants, alcohol, cannabis, opioid, and tobacco. And our top 2 for youth are cannabis and alcohol. And then our top 5 diagnoses, mental health diagnoses for adults include generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorder, and other stimulant use disorder. And then our top 5 diagnoses for youth were ADHD, generalized anxiety disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, other conduct disorders, and post-traumatic stress disorders. Then our top 5 referral sources include our schools, DCS, Self Family Guardian, hospital, physicians, and law enforcement probation. So, and then that's kind of a very quick summary.
Yeah.
Very, very quick.
What's your name again?
Mandy Adams Washburn. You guys
So is
have-
this for Vermilion County only?
Yes,
Okay.
Vermilion County only.
So if I don't see the dollar amounts in here, but Vermilion County's total cost was 249,000, is that right?
So
780?
the cost for inpatient care was 249,000. The total expenses were 1,433,996. And that includes our salaries and benefits, any,
Total cost.
yeah, total cost.
So how much did we, Vermilion County, pay into that?
Into that, you paid $186,090. And that's the county tax support.
I'm guessing we paid all that, it just came from other places, other than the county. They didn't grow on the tree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Federal.
It
A lot
is
of different
funny
places.
math, yeah, I don't deal with any of that. What I can tell you is that Indiana Code 12-29-2-2 is the code for funding all of that. So I can bring you a copy if you'd like of that. I just ended up getting that this year, but it's not something that I've delved into a whole lot. So that's not really my realm.
Are those numbers average? Are they typical of past years?
So we saw an increase in consumer served and the amount of services utilized, especially in outpatient services, but that's a good thing. Those are people that are coming to us saying, hey, we need the help, and they're participating, whether it's in group therapy, individual therapy, whether it's skills, case management, all of those services across the board. So yeah.
How many hours of service did you provide for Vermilion County?
I can look that up.
I'd like to
don't
know
have-
that,
Yeah,
for that cost of $1.5 million.
we can do that now. Absolutely. So I can tell you on average, our skills sessions run about an hour to 2 hours, dependent upon whether it's in the community, whether we're at a school helping a kiddo. That's dependent upon that. Our average therapy session is 45 minutes. So it kind of gives you an idea, just kind of out of the gate, what we're looking at.
Did you go into the schools and do the appointments there at the schools?
Yes. So if parents are asking and schools requesting, especially if school is saying, hey, we have this kiddo that's really struggling, we think they could benefit, then we will go in and do skills at the school with the kiddos. Absolutely. One of the new programs we actually started this year was South Vermilion Middle School. We were able to provide groups at no cost for them. So we've done the second half of this year, we've run 2 groups. So.
Any other questions? Randy?
Oh, I got a ton of questions, but why bother?
Well, thank you for the
You're
update.
welcome,
Appreciate
you're welcome. Absolutely, and I can get you
I would like to
those
know
hours, yeah.
what that's costing per
Very
hour.
detailed, thank you.
You're welcome. So,
Where are all these people coming from?
Do we have any other public comment this evening? No? All right. Well, I would entertain a motion to adjourn if you have one.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.